This year's installment of Call of Duty brings some major changes to the series. In addition, there are plenty of smaller changes to familiar features. And it's one change in particular that I wanted to shed some light on for you, and that's movement speed. Obviously, a major new feature and focus for Black Ops 3 is player mobility. Specifically, the ability to traverse a map quickly and efficiently, always keeping your weapon up and ready to fire in an instant. Now, beyond the new mobility tools on offer in Black Ops 3, such as wall running and automatic mantling up objects, standard movement remains present as well. Obviously, you can walk, sprint, crouch, go prone, and jump to move about the battlefield. Sprinting is louder and faster than walking, but is also unlimited in Black Ops 3. No perk necessary. And this is a huge benefit for traversing a map quickly, and one that a lot of fans have been asking for. So with the focus of rapid mobility in this game, it appears they had to adjust weapon movement speed to compensate. And that's what I'm going to demonstrate to you here. In prior Call of Duty games, SMGs, pistols, and shotguns usually all had the same 100% movement speed. Assault rifles usually were in their own category, with snipers and LMGs typically quite a bit slower. And rightfully so, I guess. The heavier the weapon, the slower you are to move. However, in Black Ops 3, things are different. There's very little difference in speed between the slowest and fastest weapon classes. And this is a huge change that not many people seem to be talking about. So after extensive testing, I've come to the conclusion that there's only about a 5% difference in speed between a slow weapon, such as an LMG, and a fast weapon, such as an SMG. And again, as mentioned, all players can sprint infinitely, with no perk needed. Allow me to back up these claims with some brief testing. I set myself up a bit of a racetrack to time each weapon class's movement speed. First, I'll show you the SMG speed. As far as I know, this still offers 100% movement speed. So using the Vesper, it clocked in at 4.7 seconds. Next, we'll do the assault rifles. Using the M8A7, the time to complete my course was 4.950 seconds. Now here's where the huge change comes into play. I'm going to show you the LMGs now. Remember, in prior Call of Duty games, LMGs were slower than both SMGs and assault rifles. So using the 48 Dredge LMG, the movement speed was documented at 4.950 seconds. Does that sound familiar? It should, because that was the exact same speed as the assault rifles. This is a huge change. One of the biggest drawbacks to using an LMG was the decreased movement speed it offered. Now, however, they offer the exact same movement speed as assault rifles. So next I'll try the sniper rifles. Using the SVG-100, it clocked in again at 4.950 seconds on the dot. So sniper rifles offer the same movement speed as LMGs and assault rifles. Now let's try the pistols. Using the MR6 pistol, it clocked in at a time of 4.8 seconds. So that's just a little bit slower than SMGs, but slightly faster than assault rifles, snipers, and LMGs. Let's see where the shotgun's movement speed lies. Using the Argus, it got a time of 4.7 seconds. Curiously, this is tied with the SMGs with 100% movement speed. So I'll test 4 more weapon times now. Next up is the launchers. Using the XM53, the time was 5.217 seconds. This is, in fact, the slowest movement type in the entire game. So how about using just your fists? I see a lot of people swap to their fists in an attempt to cover ground faster, but does this really help? It registered as 4.7 seconds, again tied with the SMGs and shotguns. Using the combat knife, I received a time of 4.750 seconds. I don't know if I mucked this one up or it was supposed to be 4.7 seconds on the dot, but I redid it a few times and kept getting 4.750. Lastly, let's try a specialist weapon. Using the Scythe, it clocked in at 4.7 seconds, which is interesting as that puts it at the same speed as SMGs, fists, and shotguns. So that was a lot of data to be thrown at you all at once. Let me show you in a more easy to see and comprehend manner. It appears that SMGs, shotguns, fists, and specialist weapons all clocked in at 4.7 seconds, making them the fastest movement speeds in the game. The second fastest movement speed was the combat knife at 4.750 seconds. And again, I'm not 100% sure on my results for this one. It could very well belong in the first tier category. But again, I did test it several times. The third fastest tier were the pistols at 4.8 seconds. The next tier includes assault rifles, snipers, and LMGs at 4.950 seconds. A very surprising find here. And the slowest movement speed in the game was the launchers at 5.217 seconds. So if we assume that the Tier 1 category of SMGs, shotguns, fists, and specialist weapons is 100% movement speed, then the rest are as follows. The combat knife offers about 99% movement. Pistols offer about 98% movement. Assault rifles, snipers, and LMGs offer 95% movement. And lastly, launchers offer 90% movement speed. So what does this mean? It's definitely very odd that LMGs, snipers, and assault rifles all have the same base mobility. This is a huge bit of information to know, however. A lot of people despise using LMGs simply because of the slower movement speed. Now that they're on par with the assault rifles, it's possible a lot more people will give them a whirl. Another huge change this new movement data brings about is swapping to your secondary to cover ground faster. Before Black Ops 3 was released, I was watching one of the MLG reveals in Europe, and David Vonderhaar made an interesting tweet, which is the entire reason I underwent this testing. He noted that the pros were all swapping to their secondary weapon for increased speed, and then he tweeted this: "Switching to fists doesn't actually make you run faster." And my data indicates that this is 100% true. Well, depending on your primary weapon, that is. If you're running an SMG or shotgun and swap to your fists, you'll still run at 100% movement speed, which obviously does not make you run any faster. If you're running any other weapon as a primary and swap to your fists, however, you will run faster, albeit not by much. I can't tell you how many people I know that run a pistol secondary and swap to it for faster movement speed. Little do they know, this actually could be slowing them down. I'm curious what most of you think about these findings. Is this a good change that LMGs, snipers, and assault rifles are now on par with each other? What about the fact that swapping to your secondary, in an attempt to gain mobility and traverse the map faster, has essentially been nerfed? I wonder if anyone even noticed any of these changes. To be honest, if you've used an LMG before, you'll still see the visual effects of sluggish movement. But as I just demonstrated, when testing is performed, they actually aren't that slow at all. Hopefully this information can help at least some of you improve your gameplay a bit. Whether that be by trying LMGs with this new knowledge that they aren't as slow as in prior Call of Duty games, or maybe by swapping to your secondary knowing that it doesn't really increase your mobility. If you want my personal opinion on this, I'm a vicious admirer of LMGs, and this is essentially a huge benefit to them. I'm certain others will think differently, but at least you now know, and knowing is half the battle.